Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for coffee and conversation. Cera Reine Meintzer is a meditation instructor and life coach, building foundations of mindfulness and inner strength with her clients. She works with individuals ready to live life on their terms and specializes in working with HSPs, or highly sensitive persons. She is also a gerontologist, teacher, artist, wife, and mother of 3.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited about this particular episode because, I always get to share it with 2 very accomplished women, Teresa and Danielle. And Teresa is still accomplished, but she's not with us today. Who we do have with us today is Cera. You know Cera. Cera has been with Masterpiece. She's been on previous podcasts. And Cera, we're very happy to have you today. I've got a big job for you. You're going to have to tell me a lot of things that I need to know and have yet not learned, even in spite of all my decades on this earth. So, and Danielle, you teach me every day anyway. So I'm going to learn a lot today. And what am I going to learn about? Well, we're humans, and the currency of being human successfully is communication, our ability to communicate with another human. And this sounds a little rough, but we tend to suck at it. We mess it up. We make errors, and we get tied up in our own emotions and our thoughts and our monkey mind, and all this stuff gets in the way, and we never really communicate. Now today, our focus was team members in senior living, because in senior living, healthy aging is about the entire culture. So that's everybody in the community, including all call them staff, call them team members, call them associates. And we would like to arm everybody, not arm isn't a good term, but empower everyone to be able to communicate better, to be able to to navigate through some sensitive, touchy things that may happen between 2 people, or in order that you can help. You may be in dietary, you may be in security, but you have the ability to help another human being through some tough times. And we want to give you those skills. We've got the right people today. And by the way, you don't have to work in senior living to benefit from this show. I know I'm going to, and I look forward to it. Enough of me. Cera, welcome again.
Thank you, Roger.
So tell us what your day-to-day professional life is like. And this is about communication, but it could be called coaching. It can be called just being human and being empathetic. But I'm turning it over to you. And Danielle, we're going to be hearing from you, right?
Absolutely. Coaching is kind of a tricky word, right? But it's a profession. It's something that's very needed in the world. I think many of the people that I work with coaching will say, God, everybody should have a life coach. I mean, that's like a mentor, like a best friend, like a great parent, like an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. So we use the word coaching, but it is so much of that is thinking outside of the box and holding space for people to process, really. So I spend a good portion of my time doing that, specifically with a population that makes up 20% actually of our population, which is called highly sensitive person, or HSP. Elaine Aron is the researcher who kind of discovered this trait. And someone who is highly sensitive is really overwhelmed by the world. They take on other people's emotions. They're not just empathetic, but they soak those in. It's almost like they become their own. It's what they feel is someone else's emotions. So, and 70% of those people are introverts. So communication can be really scary when you know, one, that you're going to take on the other person's feelings, and two, that you have to interact with someone and maybe be there and listen and say something back that sounds amazing or is helpful. But I would say to those specific people, holding the space is really, really, really what makes the difference in our human worlds. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And because we're supposed to do double the listening as we are the talking. So you would be surprised how much you can impact someone's day by truly listening and hearing what they're saying, and listening between the words, between the lines. What's the deeper meaning that's going on? And that might sound intense or like it requires a lot of training, but it really doesn't. It's just stopping and truly taking a moment to listen, which I know in senior living and many other industries, it can be hard to stop and take a minute because you're probably wearing a lot of hats.
Oh, this is interesting, an interesting concept of highly sensitive people. So this can be the person you're talking to, or it can be you.
Absolutely.
And they may be sharing something with you that you're having difficulty processing yourself because you're a highly sensitive person. So it goes both ways. So I think we're kind of lowering the threshold of where we might be able to help people. We're getting probably the most difficult ones. Would that be fair to say, Cera, that someone who's highly sensitive, that's a particularly challenging communication event?
Yes, because they have a lot more. If you're the person who is highly sensitive, or you're talking to someone who is, they have a very deep processing system. Their nervous system is different and it processes at a lot deeper. They also notice subtleties. So I think that applies highly to body language. So in some ways, they're taking in a lot more than someone who's not an HSP, but they may not have any idea what to do with it on either end, if you're talking to them or if you're the person who is.
Okay, well, I learned something already. So whether you are an HSP or you're going to talk to an HSP, today you should be listening, because when this is over, we're going to have skills that are going to improve our communication skills with not only older adults, but friends, spouses, children, everything, eh? Great.
Yes, absolutely.
Danielle?
Yeah. Well, Cera, she brought up 2 really great points, whether you're highly sensitive or just a compassionate human being.
Mm-hmm.
She brought up holding the space, and I love that. And you already talked about body language. So if you don't mind, I'm going to break them into 2 parts because they're both really important. What we hear from many team members and associates at communities is they want to hold the space and be there, but they're worried, what if I make somebody cry? Did I just break the person? Or what if I get overcome with emotion that I start crying? So how can you be compassionate without, upsetting the balance, so to speak?
Being a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are an HSP or you're talking to one, not that this whole episode is about HSPs, but HSPs also have highly developed emotional senses. Like, I as an HSP can cry at a commercial. Like, I'm just brought to tears like that. So I know when I'm talking to someone, if it's remotely emotional or a story from the past that's touching, I'm going to cry. Like, I'm going to get teary-eyed, and that's going to happen. And I have learned for myself, I've just learned fighting against all of our cultural norms that say, you can't show those emotions because it makes other people uncomfortable and people don't know what to do and you're not supposed to cry. And trying to just remember, like, this isn't natural. It's okay for me to cry. It might feel uncomfortable just because of our cultural setting. So that's not the answer for everyone, but it is good to recognize if you are someone who does that easily, to kind of try to prepare yourself. Also, you probably touched, when I worked in senior living, I was touched every day by stories, by residents coming to me and sharing things and putting on events that, you know, highlighted things from the past that were meaningful for them. So it's a hard question to answer because everyone's so different. But I do think the most important thing to know, two things I'll say, is one, that we don't live in an emotionally healthy culture where emotions are readily accepted. Even I think about the NFL banning celebration dances after touchdowns. You know, it's like, wait, we're not allowed to celebrate anymore. So any show of big emotion is like, it's not okay in our culture. So know that a piece of your of that is not on you. It's where you've grown up. And then the other thing I would say is creating space, like you said, Danielle, in yourself, and creating a place, like we've said in Masterpiece, to be the plate, to hold it for someone else's emotions, and know that no, you're not breaking them. Emotions are natural and normal, and you can always ask, you know, how can I support you? Is there anything that I can do to help you? I see that you're emotional. That's okay. It's okay to call that out.
Yeah, I love that. And what I also love is when you mentioned body language, and I also, as a coach, I listen for key words when people say repeat things and they don't realize they're saying them. So with body language, and anybody can do this. If you're talking to someone and they're slumped over, that's a very different reaction than when you say, hey, would you like to go dancing? And they're like dancing and they light up, and like their posture completely lights up when it's something they enjoy. So watch for those very distinct cues.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I would say, again, the words, you know, when you're talking to somebody, if they're using the words sensitivity or social connection, or people tend to use a word over and over again without realizing it. If I can give a quick example, I was talking to somebody who was trying to find their purpose. And in the course of a 20-minute conversation, she must have said connecting people, bringing people together like 10 times. And so it was just about exploring that.
Yeah. Yes.
To me, the one of the most difficult things as a physician, that's a little bit of a different environment, but you know, I was there to help people, and then we're talking about associates who want to do that, and you don't have to go into a conversation with the idea you're going to help someone, but if it comes up, is to tolerate silences. I think that is probably the most difficult. I think probably for just about everybody, that everyone wants to fill in a silence, you know, even if it's with garbage. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I did that, you know, or whatever. And yet it's in silences that I think you can sort of encourage people to go a little deeper in what they're telling you. That's been my experience. Is that yours, Cera?
Absolutely. We don't like silence in our culture. It's not, you know, everything is so bombarding and big and loud. And I think that silence is also a way that you can hold that space. It's just another way to do that and let someone be how they are and feel what they feel. And truly, I think about it kind of as a heart connection. You know, when you're in that space and you're listening, you could imagine too that your heart is connecting with their heart. And then that makes that silence that much easier to have, because there's still this connection that's happening, even though there's no words being spoken.
You were talking about, we know about mirror neurons. Those who don't know
Yes.
about mirror neurons, now that we can do brain scans, if someone is experiencing an emotion and someone is observing them and they do brain scans on both, the same neurons are activated, which is probably the physical depiction of empathy. And we're more, that's a human thing. We're more likely to do that than to not do that. And so, see, you know, and back, if I could, if I'm saying something and someone tears up, I know that I've connected in a very special way. Mm-hmm. Or if I tear up at something they say, I hope they feel the same way. And I bet they do. Now, you know, if you turn in